I know I am letting a lot of our guests in right now, one by one. So there he is, Mr. Erskine himself. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
He's going to need to unmute his device as well. Hi, Chris. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Ahoy, our hero.
Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you
Hello,
for
hello.
me
Who's
with
barking
hello.
back there? Who's barking back there?
That is Jenny.
Ah, Ginny, I'll get White Fang. I'll get White Fang out here.
Yeah,
We've
We'll
heard
have a
about
barking. We'll have a barking contest.
it.
yeah, well, I'll have to get up and go take care of Ginny.
Well, she'll come.
She'll solve.
That's all
Okay,
right.
great. Chris, thank you very much for this event.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm very honored. You know, Montrose is one of my favorite spots, especially this time of year. It's not Christmas until you drive through the lights, you know, and it's a little different this year for sure, but you know, we still have that holiday glow. It's fantastic.
Fantastic also that, Chris, you agreed to join us tonight and to allow us to host your book launching, which we are so excited to do.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it's all kind of COVID related. I mean, I thought it was a funny idea to do a book about COVID, but and I thought that, you know, it'd be over in 3 months. It just shows what I don't know, right?
All of us.
I told them, yeah, right, all of us. Well, it's exactly right. The publisher suggested it. I go like, the last thing anybody wants to do in June when this is over is read a book about COVID. Well, of course, it wasn't over by a long shot. So anyway, we've gotten through it, and better times ahead, I'm sure. Kristen Brakeman, how are you?
Gotta unmute here. Fine, how are you?
I know. I surprised you, huh?
You surprised me.
Did you end up watching Saturday Night Fever or not?
Not yet. You know, my kids only watched like one movie with me so far this winter break, so I don't know. I don't know if they'll
Well,
even agree.
I know the feeling. We can't agree on that either.
Well, I had watched the Bee Gees documentary,
Ah,
and that's what brought it up. Is that it was such a really good documentary. I highly recommend it.
I've heard really great things about that.
Yeah. So then that's what brought it up. I thought I hadn't even heard of the movie before. It was crazy.
Right. Right.
We're getting the feedback.
Remember what a big movie that was? We had this big debate this afternoon over whether Kristen Brakeman, a fellow author and friend of mine, should watch Saturday Night Fever with her daughters.
Yeah.
And I was teasing her. I said, what did her daughters do wrong to deserve a movie like that? Because
Oh, stop.
remember what a big movie that was? It was a huge movie.
I should add that my youngest daughter is already 17. So it's not like they're 10 or something.
Yeah, right. I know. Well, that is, there is that scene in the back seat, I think.
Yeah.
Well, somebody has that television too loud, or
No, put it in Walrus. I am the Walrus. Yes. Animal songs for
anybody
600.
in charge?
Somebody's not
Me and
muted.
Susie had so much fun holding hands and skimming stones. Go. What is Crocodile Rock? Yes. Animal songs for 800. Harry Chapin, Little Boy Blue, and the Man in the Moon.
Anna Lily, are you running this? Because you can go down to participants and mute everybody if you want to.
Okay, so
Seems-
that's what
It
we're
seems
going
it
to do.
seems cruel, but sometimes you have to do that.
Yes, we will do that, and we will unlock everybody's mics at the end.
Great.
Thank you, Chris, for the suggestion. Let me find where everybody is.
I'm just glad you're doing it because the last one of these I did, I had to host it and do it, and it's tricky to manage all that. At least for me. At least for me, it is. I don't
For
do it enough.
everybody.
So.
Well, Kathy Christie is joining us as well. So
Yay!
that's exciting.
Hey, Kathy.
Kathy, for joining us. Well, Chris, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us. And the ambassadors program from the Montrose Chamber is very excited about you joining our program and potentially having a youth writers workshop for the city of Montrose, which is going to be fantastic.
I think so too. I've done writers workshops before, for fourth, fifth, and sixth graders in the local schools, and I just love it. I mean, they're so enthusiastic for it. They're such good readers, it's good for me as it is for them, and I'm really honored to be doing that. So I know we don't have the logistics worked out yet, but it won't be that tricky, and it'll be
Yes,
really
we
fun.
will.
It'll be really fun, Analily.
Yes, everybody will have to just stay tuned, and we will come up with a date and we'll let everybody know about it. Um, I would like to highlight that during these unprecedented times, somebody decides to write chronicles about the pandemic COVID-19 days. And when did you decide to do that? And why would you think it's good to have a testimonial?
Yeah, it raises a lot of questions, doesn't it? I mean, just the title itself is kind of goofy, and who writes a humor book about COVID, for gosh sakes? Well, it basically started back in March when I was posting frequently on Facebook. I was posting every day, which is something I've never done before. And it was, we had a lot of questions, and everybody was sort of engaging. And so it sort of took off for a couple of weeks in. I'm still writing every day about COVID. So a guy by the name of Mike Sager, who's an editor for Esquire magazine and a Southern California guy, he's based in Southern California, said, "Hey, I got this little publishing house, and I think there's a book there." And I said, "Well, if I'd known that, I would have made them a lot better." I mean, these are just Facebook posts, and I'm doing it in about an hour. And so he said, "Well, I didn't realize that." I said, "Well, yeah." And so anyway, I said, "Well, let's see what happens. Let's see if I can keep this up, and if there's enough there, if there's enough." I mean, because I didn't want it to be a silly book, because I can get kind of silly in my humor, and I didn't want to be disrespectful because people were going through a lot of struggles. I wanted to sort of capture the tone of the moment. So, March, April, we're getting into Easter and nobody has any eggs. Who would have thought? And we're getting toward Easter, and nobody can go to church. I mean, did we ever think we'd see a moment like that? Of course not. And so, it became a milestone moment for everybody. And of course, that sometimes triggers good writing, sometimes not. And, I think of it as sort of a cross between, a book of poetry and an extended warranty. I mean, it's a little bit soothing, and it's a little bit practical. I mean, we exchange recipes. We exchange quotes. Somebody would quote William Blake and come up with something. What you find out, I worked for the LA Times for 30 years, and what you find out as a writer for a great paper like that is the newsroom thinks it's so smart, and it's full of really smart people, but the readers are always smarter. And the readers have always been your sort of your BS detector. They will call you if you misuse a semicolon. They will call you on it. If you misuse a pronoun, they will call you on it, and they will absolutely always be, a lot of them, a step ahead of you. So what this book reflects, I think, is just sort of a lot of the back and forth. Now, when we go onto Facebook, now I was kind of a cynic about social media, even though I sort of used it because we were supposed to. But Facebook during the early months of COVID was real, and still is, I think, a really great place to go just to sort of be with people. We couldn't go to restaurants. We couldn't remember when they closed the hiking trails. Remember when we couldn't find toilet paper? things were really dire, and it really helped to be able to every morning sort of have this back and forth. It was like a group of people having coffee every morning. And I would suggest something, and then somebody else would suggest something else, and it became this great give and take. And it was like nothing I'd ever experienced really in 40 years of journalism, 30 of them at the LA Times. This sort of communal group thing, and it was therapy, I think, for me certainly, and I think it was therapy for everybody, just to be able to laugh a little bit, to exchange ideas, to talk about how I massacred my Easter ham. People spent a lot of time correcting me on my cooking, and Lord knows I needed the help. It was pathetic. They pre-cook these hams, and then you're supposed to warm the ham. I don't want to get too much into it. At what point is it warm, and then it dries out, and then it's black. At some point, it's a black ham. You don't see a lot of black hams except in our house. And this was a beautiful Whole Food company. I went over to the big Whole Food over in Pasadena. It's like 7 stories. There's the escalator and the concierge, and
Yes.
it's great. Yeah, it's nuts over there. And somebody had given me a gift certificate, and so I went over there for the Easter ham, and I have this beautiful. It was like driving home my firstborn child. It's like I'm going extra slow. I don't want to jostle it too much. I certainly don't want to get in any accident or anything. So I'm nurturing this ham. I'm so excited about warming it. All I have to do is warm it up, and then I still massacred it. I should have a picture handy. It was a crime against cooking, is what it was. And so we got 2 or 3 days out of that, and then I made I think at one point I made a sandwich out of Peeps. Remember those Peeps? Those marshmallow Peeps on white bread. If you put them on white bread, they're surprisingly good. I haven't tried the other breads yet, but anyway, so it was Easter, and we were all sort of freaked out, and we joked about our recipes, and we joked about how we were spending our days, and anyway, that led to the book.
Oh, that is a fantastic story, and probably we can all relate to every single thing that you talked about. I don't know if I can show the cover of the book,
Sure.
but this is what the book looks like.
There it is. Yeah, that's me walking through, walking the streets. I did a lot of, that's my dog White Fang there. He's a domesticated wolf.
And he's wearing a mask, I see.
And he's wearing a mask. Well, we didn't know in those days whether wolves could pass on the COVID thing. We've since learned that they don't. They have other problems, but that's not it. Anyway, I love the cover, and it really is. It's a little bit of a survival guide, a little bit of humor, and I mean, it led to some really wonderful things. And we had the Gin and Tonic Society of Los Angeles.
Oh yes.
Was born during this. It's hard to imagine America without the Gin and Tonic Society of Los Angeles. And
so what you do is you have a group and you hike.
We have the Happy Hour Hiking Club. I'm not much for alcohol, but there seems to be a running theme here.
Well, I'll drink to that.
Good, there you go. Well, a toast to everybody. A holiday toast to everybody who might have a glass handy. There we go, Kathy. It's the Happy Hour Hiking Club was just a couple of buddies of mine. We're sitting around one day, and we would go out to bars and we'd have a few drinks. And I said, how about just for a change, we do a little hike first. Nothing drastic, but how about we go for a little, all the great trails around town. And I go, how about we hike a little first, and then we go for our drinks, just to sort of pretend like we're being healthy, to give us a little activity. And one of the guy's wives was there, and she said the Happy Hour Hiking Club. And I go, now it just got better and better. so I reached out to readers and said, hey, if you want to go for a little hike and a little celebratory beverage, we'll be at Duke-Magian Park, in La Crescent there, Glendale, wherever exactly it is. And we went to Montrose. We went to Montrose for our after party, to Avignon's in Montrose. And one time we went to New Moon, the patio at New Moon. And so we had to cap it at about 75 people because you can't find a place where you can just drop in with 75 friends.
Right.
So,
75.
so recently we've been doing the Rose Bowl a lot because you can sort of spread out there and everything. And then we sort of cut those off when in the latest lockdown, and we hope to get those going again. There's all sorts of trails at the Rose Bowl that people really aren't familiar with. Anyway, it's the Happy Hour Hiking Club was really a great thing. It was a great way for me to meet with readers and people who I'd maybe been emailing for a long time and just hang out. And it was really a nice thing. And it really, to me, it was such a great thing for Los Angeles. I mean, it was such a great comment on Los Angeles because we had people from the West Side. People would come down from Ventura or the Inland Empire, up from the Inland Empire, and nobody knew anybody. And all they had in common was that they read the LA Times. Well, that was a pretty good filter right there. The people were engaged and curious, and people made friendships and started hanging out on the side. They wouldn't invite me because that would just kind of ruin things. But it was really terrific and made a lot of great friendships. A lot of folks from this area and
Great
so
meetup.
pardon me?
What a great meetup.
Yeah, it's a great meetup, and it really is. It's in the vernacular of today. It was just a meetup, and so it really took off. We would sometimes get 300 responses to when we announced the event, and we had to sort of say no, or we do it over 2 or 3 different days so that we try to accommodate as many people as we could. And then along came during COVID, we started talking about drink recipes, and for some reason somebody gave me a bottle of gin, which is like giving paint to Rembrandt. I mean, it was I hadn't been much of a gin drinker before, and I think, well, what a waste of my life up to that point. So I was really happy to try something new, and then I get all sorts of suggestions on different gins. There's California gins now made with botanicals from across California. It became sort of a little bit of a hobby kind of a thing, and so that led to the Gin and Tonic Society of Los Angeles, of which, boy, there was great enthusiasm for that.
Connect.
Yeah, we actually did a little bit of a holiday, we called it the Jingle Bell ball, and it was a salute to gin and Christmas and all the holidays, and we did a few of those before Christmas. We actually did 3 of those right before Christmas, and that was great fun. And that was really the only meetings that the Gin and Tonic Society of Los Angeles has had, and so we hope to do those in person, soon. But we understand, it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while, but then it's a great time and opportunity right now for all of us to prepare and think on these fun activities that we can engage into, and a way to get to meet you a little bit better.
Yeah, well, that's always disappointing, but I will say that I was telling people today that I hope they get out and get, this is such a great time of year for a walk or a hike or just a dog walk. It's the last few days. I mean, yesterday was a little stormy, but today was just gorgeous day. We love it when the mountains get frosted like that. But anyway, I was telling people I hope they get out and get their exercise so that when we get the Happy Hour Hiking Club going again, they're ready to go, right?
Yes.
Got to stay in shape.
Well, Chris, what inspired you to start grinding? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well,
How did you discover yourself as a writer?
well, it was about the fourth grade. I had a teacher by the name of Miss Pine, who I love to this day. Miss Pine was an older woman. She was probably 24, 25. I was 8. And so it wasn't really meant to be, but she gave me an A minus on a paper I did. It was about finding the Christmas stuff that my parents had stashed, the Santa stuff that my parents had stashed. And I did a little essay on it, and I got a nice high grade on it. I don't get a lot of high grades back then or even now. And so Miss Pine, who I love to this day, is sort of encouraged me. In high school, I remember 10th grade, I also got a high mark on a paper I did from Mr. Stevens, and Mr. Stevens said A plus, and then in parentheses he said, "Did you really write this?" Which, that's Mr. Stevens, if you're out there, that really hurt. So sometimes stuff like that sort of inspires you. I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to be a TV journalist. I was going to do a lot of different things. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And then I started reading a guy by the name of Jim Murray. You might have heard of him. Used to write a little sports here in Los Angeles. I started reading Jim Murray and I go like, gosh, I didn't know newspaper writing could be that good. And I changed my sophomore year in college. I changed my major to journalism. And I would say about 50% of that was Jim Murray. The other 50% was Mike Royko, who was a very famous, equally famous Chicago columnist. A lot of people have heard of him. They used to run his column here occasionally. Yeah. And so those two guys just did it different. They just connected and had impact and had fun with the language. And I thought if I could write like that, I used to sneak out and buy, when I was 12 years old, I would buy the Chicago Sun-Times just to read Mike Royko, because we got the other paper in town and Royko was in. So I'd go down to the Asco drugstore in suburban Chicago and buy the Mike Royko. I would see it occasionally. My dad would bring it home from the train. That commuter trains in the Chicago area are big. He'd come home with the Sun-Times, and I started reading this guy Royko. Anyway, then I got into college and I discovered Jim Murray. I ended up working with Jim Murray, which was
Wow.
pretty great. I never actually met him. He called me one time for something and left a voice message, but that's as close as we got. I became really good friends with his son, Ted, who was worked in the newsroom, not as a reporter, but as a support staff in the newsroom. And that was pretty cool to get to know Ted a little bit. When great Jim Murray story, Jim Murray, he had the problem with his eyes. Remember, some of you may, if you're a Murray fan, he lost his eyesight almost completely for a while. He was able to get it back, but as he was getting older, he moved closer to town. He lived in Malibu, and as he was getting older, he moved closer to Los Angeles, so the commute made more sense and all the events that he had to go to. But when he sold his house in Malibu, a young singer by the name of Bob Dylan bought Jim Murray's house. Dylan still owns that house, I believe, and it's one of the most. It's Streisand's on this side, and some guy from the rock group Chicago is on the other side. I mean, it's a pretty nice part of Malibu. And anyway, so Jim Murray and Bob Dylan, two unlikely people to sort of share a house, but that's a little bit of Murray trivia. Anyway, those guys had great impact on me. I think it's like, Kristen, I don't know what Kristen's thoughts are on this. Kristen Bregman's such a good writer, but I think it's just like when you're a young basketball player and you're watching Kobe or Michael Jordan or Stockton, it's like you see somebody who just sort of like, gosh, I'm just wowed by that, and it inspires you. And I think that if you're an actor, that's probably how you feel about Nicholson or Brando or Meryl Streep, any of the greats. They sort of inspire you, and if you have talent in that area, that sort of propels you along. And so I was lucky to find some writers who I really liked. I wasn't a voracious reader as a kid, but I liked to read, and I really love it now. And anyway, it was nice. I mean, I came to the LA Times as an editor. I was
So that's how you began your career.
yeah, well, I started as a sports writer in South Florida. And then I moved over to regular main news, and then I moved over to editing. And editing is considered a promotion in newsrooms. It's not really, but it is kind of considered that. I mean, the best jobs are either taking photographs or writing stories. They really are the only reason to sort of do that kind of work. And so I'd gotten away from writing, and out here, once I got out here, I started doing humor pieces for the SoCal Living section. It might have been View at that point. Remember, it changed names about every month at that. And that led to a weekly column, and then that led to a sports column, and then all sorts of good stuff. So I was very lucky, but it was just sort of seeing people who stuff that sort of turned you on as a reader, and wanting to sort of be able to do that as well. I think that reading is just one of those great, intimate, greatly personal, soulful kinds of things. And I hope that once in a while I'm that way, but that's what I strive for. I mean, I think it really is, it makes you feel, if you're reading somebody and you have a favorite author, mine make me feel a little less alone in the world. I mean, sometimes they'll write something, you go like, God, I thought that was only me. I thought I was the only one who felt that way. And they can dig up just those little relatable moments that people don't even speak about, and somehow they tap into that. And
it's
if you're
a great way to reconnect with people, or to connect and feel that humane.
Yeah, it really does. I think it's life affirming on a lot of levels. I think it's intellectually good for you. I think it opens worlds. As long as you have a book, you have a place to go. I mean, even when you can't get on an airplane for Europe, you can read some of Twain's great travel writing, or Rick Steves or whatever. I mean, you can always go someplace else. And a great book, I don't have to tell you guys this, but it's sort of a gateway to another world and another life. I mean, sometimes it's a little voyeuristic, isn't it? I mean, you're privy to somebody's inner thoughts, to their lives, to their relationships. I mean, what does that besides a really good book? Movies do it to some degree, but not the way a book can. I mean, how many times have you read a good book? Well, Princess Bride is a beloved movie, but if you've ever read the book that it was based on, it's even better. William Goldman's book is phenomenal. I mean, the book is True Grit. I mean, the book is always better. Lonesome Dove was a phenomenal miniseries. But the book was better. They're just richer and satisfying in ways that movies can't quite be. Even though a movie can give you sound and images and everything else, there's just something about the written word that just connects to us. And so
I remember my sons coming home disappointed from watching a movie or seeing a movie and saying, "Mom, the book was so wonderful, and how did they miss that part in the book?"
how many times have we said that, right? How many times have we said that? And think of like I said, think of all the things that a movie director has at his or her disposal, which is the written word, it's dialogue. I love dialogue. Great visuals, great music. I love music, movie soundtracks.
Yeah.
Great acting. So it's a feast for the senses. You have all those different things going, yet somehow that movie can't top this two-dimensional thing. This word on a page. Yeah. And I mean, it goes back to Shakespeare. There is something about connecting to people's inner thoughts that a book can do that a movie or TV show can't quite. Now, the really great ones do. I mean, the really great ones sort of speak to us in ways
They really have to do that.
that connect. But by and large, that's mostly the written word, I think.
Yes. Well, so Chris, are a transplant from Chicago.
Yes.
And-
Yes, I am. I was kicked out, actually. Analily, I was kicked out. They said you can go anywhere, just not here. Okay. You're welcome to go anywhere else. You just can't stay. We gave you a tryout, and then there was a probationary period. Basically I wouldn't shut up.
California.
Kind of like tonight, I wouldn't shut up, and they finally said, God, just go. I was like the annoying kid. And I ended up, like I said, I was in Florida first, and then I was in New Orleans for about 10 years, and then back to Florida for a while, and then out here for 30 years. And I it's so funny because other people who have moved out here will I hope they can relate, but outsiders' image of Los Angeles is probably more off the mark than any other city, because you hear so much about Hollywood and Los Angeles, and you think it's entertainment tonight, and you think, Zsa Zsa is going to live next door and the Kardashians are going to be carpooling with you. You think it's this freaked out, crazy place, and there's parts of it that are freaked out and crazy, but there's also Cub Scout meetings and AYSO soccer and back to school nights, and it's more like regular life than people would ever think. The sunshine changes people's moods and temperaments and relationships, and there's just something to be said for being able to be outdoors all the time. It really, I think, helps me. And there's sunshine is life. We say water is life, but sunshine is life too. And I feel really fortunate. I feel, there were jobs I didn't get, and I feel so fortunate I got the job at the LA Times, because it was life-changing for me, not just professionally, because it certainly led to some good things for me, but just as a human being who is open to new things. I mean, there's that Southern California mentality of trying to give things a chance and not being turned off by something that's new just because it's new. There's a sense of tolerance here that I think is wonderful, and the diversity that we hear ad nauseum, but it's more interesting. And so, does it mean it's not utopia? There's no utopias, but it's certainly a wonderful place to live. I wouldn't have stayed here for 30 years. I had, other cities. I couldn't go back to Chicago because they had abandoned me, but there were other places I could go. Des Moines would have loved to have me. Topeka. There were some great cities where I was free to Omaha for one. So anyway, so I was
fortunate to get you.
Well, I feel like this was the love. This was sort of the love affair, the unexpected love affair of my life was with Los Angeles, and it still is. I mean, I just it never bores me. Most places do, and I think it is, like I said, it's open-minded, it's interesting, it's smart. It is cool in ways that other New Yorkers try too hard. LA is just has a cooler, more natural way about it. It appreciates the outdoors. It appreciates the sunshine and the fresh air, and it's a healthy thing. I mean, are there things I don't like about it? Yeah, but I by and large, there are more positives to this area than any other place I've ever lived.
Sure. And even though we have a lot of Trader Joe's stores.
One of my daughters was just trying to persuade me to go to the Montrose Trader Joe's, because I'm not a big fan of it. What you're alluding to is I'm not a big fan of Trader Joe's. I know that's sacrilege. I know everybody's supposed to love Trader Joe's. I find it kind of overrated, and the parking's abysmal, of course. The people there the people who work there are fantastic. I think it's great. And and I like what they've done. I mean, I admire what they've done, but I'm just not a huge fan of Trader Joe's. So my just this morning, my one of my daughters was scolding me. She goes, "You got to give the Montrose Trader Joe's. It's so much better."
So much.
And so I think I will do that. And you know, there again, my cooking becomes an issue, but you know, there's there's
That's
the
not-
prepared
that's not-
meals.
That's not Trader Joe's fault.
Well, they're just worried. They're just worried that I'm gonna. They're just worried that I'm gonna starve, and they're worried I'm gonna use the wrong salt because now there's all these different salts. You know, it's confusing, and even my Tupperware came under attack the other day because you know, the leftovers from Christmas that my daughters are here for Christmas dinner, and they opened the drawer and there's a bunch of, you know, 5-year-old Tupperware, and they were just appalled by that. I go, like, I was kind of proud of my Tupperware supply. So, you know, I'm learning my way around the kitchen. I'm doing okay, but
Well,
you know, so Trader Joe's is actually good for a guy like me, but it's still a bit of a battle. We'll see.
I am very fond of the one around Montrose because my mother lives in the building next to it. And
Oh, perfect.
when they were without elevators for 13 days,
Mm,
they were so kind to come and ask everybody if they needed to have anything from the store, they would bring it upstairs to them.
wow. How great is that? I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah.
I think that's phenomenal.
It's a building with 85 units and it's for retirees. And
Right.
they couldn't come downstairs because there were no elevators for 13 days. So
Ay, ay, ay.
the staff from Trader Joe's were magnificent with them. So
That's phenomenal. It doesn't surprise me because I think from a customer service standpoint, I'm amazed at how well they do. It just seems like just a cut above most places, and so I'm impressed by that. I'm even more impressed now hearing that. I think that's wonderful.
great. I'm glad. Well, so you refer to LA being more relaxed and more outdoorsy and more hands-on, driving kids around to different activities, and that is how I remember Chris Erskine and his lovely wife coming to the PTA meetings.
Oh yeah.
As Posh had the baby rocking on her hip, and when the baby was not feeling so great about being in the meeting, she would take him out and still keep an ear out to hear what was going on in the meeting, and that's how I remember the Erskine.
I don't think she put that baby down for like 3 years. I mean, she'd cook. You know, she was one of those moms. She'd cook. She'd stir the soup, and she'd have the baby on her hip, and then you're like, that baby's never gonna learn to walk if you don't put it down. You know.
Yes.
And it all turned out well, but she was happy with the baby in her arms.
That's how I remember you, Chris. And it's so heartwarming because when I received all these calls for RSVPing for this Zoom meeting tonight, people had so many different stories about you, how they were following you for so many years, reading your articles on the LA Times, and they followed all your story, all the live experiences with Posh, and so they all had a different perspective, and my perspective was of a wonderful neighbor that always came to the PTA meetings, no matter how many babies you had to carry along.
Yeah, we had 4 at one point. Kathy was very posh. Kathy, she also went by Kathy. She mostly went by Kathy. Anyway, she was very devoted parent. She was very site council and all those kinds of things at Palmcrest.
Yes.
And she was always very, very devoted. I was the coach, and she was more the PTA,
Yes.
National Charity League and all that stuff. She was very, very good about that.
So, and I see that that baby is now a teenager.
Yes. Well, and sometimes a baby too, as teenagers will be. Um, it's been tough, it's been tough on the kids, and I'm glad the elementary kids a lot of them are back in school, but high school is such a social age, and and they're missing out, and who knows what's going to happen if they missed homecoming. Are they going to miss prom? Are they going to miss graduation? And we don't really know at this point. I'm done with predicting because like I thought it was going to be over last June. I was assuring people. I said, I'll tell you what.
By March, it was going to.
I thought the sun was going to dry it up. I don't know what my theory was. I don't know what there was no science behind my predictions. It was just a gut feeling. I just go with my gut feelings, and they're always wrong. And so, but I was sorry I couldn't be right about that of all things, but
But it's great to have somebody to share these times with. And
well, yeah, well, he wouldn't be my first choice, but
probably vice versa as well.
he's totally my first and only choice. He's been great. He inspires me. We've been through a lot the last few years, and so he has inspired me. His demeanor, his temperament, his approach to life. I mean, teenagers, even in the best of times, can get. I think they're just at the mercy of the hormones and whatever mystical forces have overtaken their body on a daily basis, and so it's tough even in the best of times. And then to go through what he went through, it would be easy to get mad at the world. It would be easy to have a pity party, and he just hasn't. And so that's inspired me. And when he gets down, I hope I inspire him.
Yes.
It's life goes on, and his mom would want him to go on, and his brother too. So anyway, it's been now he's getting his college applications back, and it's exciting.
Exciting. Yes, very exciting for him. New beginnings and trying to move on to the next steps.
Yeah, he wants to go as far away as possible. Does Mars have a university? I mean, it's like,
is he signing up with JPL?
yeah, just send me to Mars. Just put me.
Can I join the program?
Exactly. Just get me away from my dad. I mean, it's tough enough with it. You get to be 17, 18. Now yeah.
It's just the cooking.
Yeah, well, it's not just the cooking. It's just being around your dad all the time. I mean, he doesn't get the break. He doesn't get the break of going to school. He doesn't get the break of Friday night at the movies.
But he has a good pal to go up for hikes and to throw the baseball at each other. And
yes,
I have read some of your.
He has been, yeah, that's a great point. He has been able to do baseball practice and pal around with his buddies that way, and they're distancing and all that stuff. So that, fortunately, there's that, but there hasn't been much else. He seems to be enamored with his phone to some extent, in the sense that he never puts it down. It was like his mom with him. It's like he won't put that phone down. And if it wasn't for TikTok, he would have no social life at all. So,
well, if it's any consolation, my 83-year-old mother, I have to go through the same thing with her. I'm like, Mom, we're having dinner. You need to put your phone down.
Really? Oh my goodness.
She is, and she has the tablet on the other side, and she's trying to catch up with the news on the TV. So yes, Mom has taken on technology, and
well, good for her. Good for her.
Because the same thing here, Chris.
It never ends, does it?
Well, and talking about age.
Yes.
I read a chapter in your book that says something about women getting better at 80. What was that?
Well, what I know about women, you could sort of fit into a small shot glass, but I've always thought that women sort of reach their prime at about 70, 72, and then they peak at about 80, before that, they're just silly and everything else. So as you know, some of you may know, I'm engaged to Angie Dickinson,
Yes.
the actress who was 82, I think. I think she might have turned
She was my
83.
favorite in the, what was the name of the series? She was
Policewoman.
woman. Yes.
Yeah, policewoman. She was the first woman to actually be the lead actor in a show. So she was it was life changing. Without policewoman, there wouldn't be Cagney and Lacey and all the other things. And so she was groundbreaking. And Angie and I sort of connected over Bob's Big Boy in Burbank.
Oh, so you
She's a Burbank. Angie Brown grew up in Burbank, California. She was born in North Dakota. Her dad was a newspaper publisher there. Moved the family to Burbank when the girls were young. That was the house I should have grown up next to. Was
Angie Dickinson.
Angie Dickinson and her sisters. I can't even imagine. Anyway, she went to Glendale. Glendale College.
Oh,
For
wow.
a year or two, and then got a job at the Burbank Airport. Lockheed, I think, maybe is an aviation. She was a secretary at an aviation company, and she had won a beauty contest. She came in second in the local beauty contest. I said, "That's a pretty competitive beauty contest, Angie. If you're finishing second, I can't even imagine what first place looked like." But so they sent her. She won this beauty contest, and they were looking for some people for this sort of radio hour. And they sent her down to the studio, and she walks into the studio, which is down on Hollywood Boulevard, and a guy by the name of Frank Sinatra standing there, and he gets a look at her, and she gets a look at him, and that changed history a little bit right there. And anyway, she never went back to Glendale College after that. she was in Rio Bravo with John Wayne. She's just had an amazing career, married to her Angie Dickinson sounds like a made up entertainment name. It was actually Dickinson was the name of her first husband, who was a football player. She just kept that. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful sounding name. And she was married to Burt Bacharach for years and years. And I'm a big fan of Burt Bacharach, but she's not.
Not anymore.
That's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, she and I are now engaged, and it's proof positive that Angie doesn't really accept that yet, but it's proof positive that I think women do get better as they age and more interesting, and certainly in California they keep their looks a little longer and their health, and that's so important. So anyway, Angie is great, and yeah, I have a lot of fun with that.
That's great.
It's true.
So,
I always got along better. I knew this probably when I was a teenager in college, is I always got along better with the moms than I did with the girl I was dating, I don't know. I think even then I was sort of aiming up, and so there you go.
interesting. So, Chris, we have one of your readers here tonight that is joining us. Her name is Christiana Green, and today is her birthday.
Hannah Green?
Christiana.
Oh, Christiana. Oh, okay. Well, happy birthday, Christiana.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to hear about the engagement, and I'm so excited to celebrate my birthday with a Zoom call like we do in 2020.
Yes.
Hearing from you and your stories, and dogs. My dogs are somewhere, but yeah, my husband is here, and we had dinner and toasted. He has his wine, I drink mine. But thank you. As you said, women get better with age, so I'm gonna hope.
There you go. You don't shun those birthdays.
We met at one of the La Cañada parades, just so you know.
Oh,
and
okay.
we followed you to the library. We heard you speak at your last book launch or something.
Oh, right, the Attitude. Yeah, right.
The dad's reading. Yeah. So thank you, Chris, and God bless. Good luck in the new year.
Oh, well, thank you too. I really appreciate that, and happy birthday. Thank you for following
you.
me.
Thanks,
You're much too young to be one of my fans, but
No, I'm 39.
I'm sure you are.
I am. So
No, happy birthday. I really do appreciate it.
thank you.
Happy birthday, Christiana. Thank you for joining us tonight. And yes, we have great hope. If women get better with age, that's great.
Well, and men too. I'm the kind of the exception to that. I mean, my mustache looks like mashed potatoes at this point. And you know, and my son's always like, Dad, you're hunched over. And I'm doing it right now, you know, and so forth. So I keep buying new clothes, hoping it makes me look younger and things like that. I just you know, there is, you know, for a town that worships youth, I will say that there is just something about growing older, and I don't know that it's wisdom. I don't even know if there's quite a word for it. Maybe the French have a word for it or something, but there is just something, you kind of know what to worry about as you get older. You kind of know the right things to worry about, and you don't waste your time worrying about silly stuff. And you realize, I think, at a certain point that most of the stuff we worry about doesn't happen anyway. And how needless it is just to fret over every little thing. And, you know, I've always kind of been a worry wart my whole life. And as I've gotten older, I you know, it's like most things, even the big things, tend to work out okay. And so I think aging is, well, I guess my point is, I think aging is kind of underrated. I think there's really kind of a it's freeing and it's liberating in a way, you know. I mean, it liberates you from the you know, worrying about needless things, and I think you learn to appreciate what's important, that relationships are everything, and that uh, people are everything, and family is everything. And so you know, I guess it is wisdom more than anything else, but you know, that
on that note, being liberated, feeling liberated with age is you tend to say many things that you didn't dare saying before. So,
yeah, right. I think that gets me in a lot of trouble too. But I really think that you're more inclined. I think you're a little more gracious.
about yourself, probably.
Well, I think you're a little more gracious, and you're a little more patient, but you're also a little bit like, what the heck, you know? And so
Everything will be okay anyway. So
well, mostly, right? I mean, you know, there are serious, God knows that there are serious things, and life takes some awful turns. But you know, those aren't the things we worry about. A lot of things we worry about are just silly things, and what people think of us, and what our boss is thinking of us, and you know, that kind of stuff, and how we look to strangers. Who cares how you look to strangers? I mean, that's one of the liberating things about getting older, is why do I care about what people don't know? Now I want to, you know, I don't want to look like a bum, but at the same time, you know, I care about the people I deal with, and I do care about strangers, and I love chatter, I love banter, I love nobody can start a conversation. One of my few gifts in life is my ability to sort of start conversations with random people. I just like doing that. I well, that's a fine pair of shoes you got on there. You know, this is why I got kicked out of Chicago. But I do. I love people, and I love interacting and meeting new people. But I you know, I don't fret over what kind of car I'm driving, and I don't care really, you know, what people think. So it is liberating. I don't know. It's maybe foolish, but that's the way I feel.
well, I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy this book, Chris. I read most of it, and it's pretty humorous. I love reading it because it's been a hard time for everybody. We're all going through hardship in one way or another, and to read about it later as well is going to be liberating, refreshing.
Well, I am still, and I just want to tell people, I mean, a lot of people who read me in the paper for years and years, I left the paper in May, but I'm still writing columns twice a week, actually, at chriserskinela.com. That's the website. No periods. It's just chriserskinela.com. And so they're free. You get what you pay for in life. You know, you got to recognize that. But I'm still writing about what we're going through. I have a column tomorrow coming out tomorrow that I'm happy with. It's, you know, it was about our Christmas, and it was about loss, and it was also about guardian angels, and it was about Christmas roasts. You know, I don't really stay on topic. You have to understand that about me. It's probably why I only got. Well, that's probably why I only got 2 A's on my papers in school, because I tend to sort of go from one thing to the other. And this column tomorrow does that, but I think it also sort of wraps up Christmas in a way that people might find interesting. Anyway, you can get the books at that website. You can get the free columns. You can sign up for newsletters. You can sign up for the Happy Hour Hiking Club and the Gin and Tonic Society. So there's all sorts of opportunity there.
Repeat the Chris
Gin and tonic.
Erskine's,
Yeah, it's Chris. It's just like my name on the in the corner down there. It's Chris Erskine,
Mhm.
LA.com. So you put that in your browser, and the website will come up, and it'll have the latest columns. And we do a monthly newsletter, and you know, that's where I announce the hikes and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good place to go. It's totally free. And we also, you know, sell some books and some other things. So
Purchase the book. I know that Bromance is selling it.
Romans and I
Flintridge.
Flint Ridge Books has a lot of copies. They had some signed copies. I did some signed copies for them. Once Upon a Time had them for a while. I haven't talked to Maureen recently, but I think she can order them for you at Once Upon a Time. And so, you know, they're out there. You can get it on Amazon, but I always try to encourage people to support those bookstores because they're treasures, right? I mean, just like the way Montrose is a treasure. We got to support all those stores because there's nothing like it. So
please, they're counting on all of us.
Yes.
To stay afloat, and especially restaurants. And
oh, absolutely. We just did Men's Kitchen. We just did takeout at Men's Kitchen because, you know, it's like you got to support them. And my daughter was great. She goes, I don't want to do. I'd mentioned a chain, and she goes, no, I want to support the little places. And so we're glad to do that.
That's great. So with that, 10 of our guests are going to get a free book signed or autographed by Chris tonight. And real quick, I would like to know who can remember what grade was Chris Erskine in when he received an A-.
I know.
Out of his,
Fourth grade.
Well done. There you go.
Fourth
Nice.
grade. I was a fourth grade teacher. Retired Glendale fourth grade teacher.
See the difference? See the difference you can make in a life, right?
Yay.
You knew that. You knew that.
Yeah, Fremont Elementary School.
Oh,
We
yeah.
focused on writing.
That's a great
those
age to teach, isn't it? I know a lot of teachers and they love fourth grade.
Yes, it's a big transition. Those kids are reading to learn, not learning
Right.
to read.
Right. Exactly.
Yay.
Exactly.
Fourth grade.
Great.
Great job, Donna. Can you please, on the chat, can you share your email address? Or
I
you
would love to, but I
can
don't
email it
see
to
my,
me.
is
Or
it?
you can email it to me.
No, I got it. I found chat. Thank you, guys. This was
Good job.
heartwarming.
Congrats.
Yay.
Yes. So, who can remember the name of that teacher who gave Chris an A.
I know.
All right, Christiana.
Miss Pine.
Very good. Wow.
Everybody's paying attention.
I'm impressed. Yeah, that's fine.
Great job, Christiana. And I have your information, so
Thank you. Thanks for your emails.
of course, it's our pleasure. Who can tell us who was the teacher? He's a male and gave Chris an A+. That was in high school.
Yeah, that was 10th grade, I think. Yeah.
10th grade.
I know.
Oh,
It was Mr. Stevens.
all right, Mary.
Another winner. Boy, that's very good. Good job, Mary.
Great job, Mary.
Mr. Stevens, I still love Miss Pine and I still hate Mr. Stevens, just for the record. I don't let stuff go. But I guess they both motivated me in different ways.
Mary, can you share your email with me, please? You can
Absolutely.
to me or so that we can send you the book. We are most likely going to have a pickup site for the
Okay.
books, and it's probably going to be at Once Upon a Time.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yay, my favorite.
Yeah, we can go shopping for some other books.
Oh,
There you
great
go.
idea. So Chris is a transplant from Chicago, and he comes and lives in LA. And he was inspired by two very important men in his life, or mentors, like. And who can tell me the name of one of them?
Mike Royko.
Jim Murray.
I think Richard got the first one and Ruth got the other one, right?
Great job.
Oh, yeah.
Right, Richard. And Donna, you got the second name, correct?
Go ahead.
No, not me.
I think it was Ruth, right?
Yeah,
No.
Jim Murray.
Yeah, Ruth.
And Richard got Royko.
Ruth. Okay. Good job.
Diane.
That's the two of them. And then he goes to college and works with, you can remember, who did Chris Erskine work with? Then later he was a friend, became a friend of his son, Ted.
Jim Murray.
Jim Murray. Jim Murray.
Jim Murray.
Oh, great job. Who said that first? I'm confused.
I don't know. I didn't. There were a lot of them popped up all at once.
I know.
Ruth or Jackie, I think.
I think it's Ruth.
Well, I shouldn't get two books.
I think it
Yeah,
might have been
Jackie.
Jackie. In
Give
that
it to
case, it might have been
Maybe
Jackie.
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 Okay. Jackie, could you share your email with us or phone number so that we can
Sure, thank you.
thank you? And also, I have another note here that says the house of Jim Murray was located in
Malibu?
Ruth, now you're just
Yeah.
showing off, okay?
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord. I used to write for the Times too.
she's the teacher's pet.
Ah,
in Malibu, and who purchased his home?
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
Bob Zimmerman. It just froze.
Oh.
What happened?
I don't know. We lost. Oh, there she's back. Analily, you're back?
Oh, I didn't know I was gone.
There was a little, we kind of froze. We kind of had a hiccup there, I think.
Okay, I think it's the sign that we are moving out of
Typical of 2020.
Yeah, right?
what else can go wrong? But okay, so who said Bob Dylan?
I said
I
Bob
did.
Zimmerman.
Oh,
With Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
Hey, Irvine?
Yeah.
Yes. Those of you who know Zimmerman know Dylan know that Zimmerman was his given name.
That's right.
Oh, good one, Richard.
Oh, oh.
And I will say that my wife told me that Bob Dylan's son bought her family house in Malibu.
No way.
Really? Oh, there we go. Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
And so Chris began writing for LA Times for what segment of the paper?
Huge.
Was it the Tarantula or?
Saturday.
Well, it was Saturday for a long time, but I think the very first time I started writing for View, it was View at that point, yeah. And it's now, I don't know what that Saturday section is, by the way. I was like, oh, geez.
Well, they definitely need a man of the house and a fan of the house.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, but I don't think it's just me. I think it's just like they need a lot of stuff. That they had the cooking stuff was all in there for a long time when Jonathan Gold was writing for us. And so that it made it really elevated it. And since they lost that, I think it's really sort of still trying to find its way. And lately they did the thing on gift wrap paper. The recently was like the most outrageous thing I've ever seen. So anyway.
Oh, that was Jay Irvine.
Yes.
Who came up with the answer. And who is Chris engaged to?
Angie Dickinson.
Dickinson.
Angie Dickinson. She doesn't know it yet, but
Well, she knows it. She's in denial.
Oh,
She thinks I'm just a gold digger. She just thinks I'm just a gold digger. She doesn't understand that I don't care about her money.
Oh, you love
Um,
her.
are you
We all
sure?
love her because of your columns.
She took me to lunch at Bob's Big Boy because at one time I'd said I'd never been to Bob's Big Boy. Why that came up, who knows why anything
Really?
comes up. And she says, I'm taking you to Bob's Big Boy. I go, so I'm going to lunch with Angie Dickinson and we're going to Bob's Big Boy? And she goes, yeah, I'm buying. I go, well, you big spender, you know, and that was where we first met. She walks into Bob's Big Boy, which is where she used to hang out when she was a teenager in Burbank. So she's very fond of it. She lives in, one of the nicer homes in Beverly Hills and drove herself all the way to Burbank. I said, I'll come. Let's go to the Polo Lounge or someplace like movie stars go. She goes, no, I want to go to Bob's Big Boy. So, okay, there we go.
And what was Chris's first position in the LA Times?
Editor.
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 That was Richard again. Was that Richard again?
Paying attention.
You have.
You have to share your.
I would think the answer should have been columnist.
So that we can send you your books or the information where to retrieve your books. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Well, thank you again, Chris.
Thank you.
Delighted
Thank you,
to have
Chris.
you here, and
Thank you.
this was an amazing event that Ambassadors Program from Montrose Chamber of Commerce put together for all of you. And we hope that you can follow us. We are in Facebook, we're in Instagram, and we are always trying to bring all the services we can to our communities and to our neighboring communities. So with that, I want to tell you all that I wish you an amazing.
There you go. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for supporting this.
Thank you, Chris.
For supporting Montrose, which I
Happy New
love. Thank you, Analily. This has been great. Great seeing
Good to see you
everybody.
guys.
Nice to see
Happy New
everybody.
Year. Be safe,
You
okay?
too.
Sonic group.
Stay healthy. Bye-bye.
All right, stay healthy.
Happy New Year,
Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.
Kathy.
Night.
Good night. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy
New Year.
to you all.
Okay, you're all.
Thank goodness.
We're gone. We're gone.
That's really